Good evening, everyone. I'm excited about this conversation as we have one of our own joining us this evening. Jordyn Weaver was part of the founding executive board of BMA, had a lot to do with getting it going, was the VP of events, was in the MIE program, doing great things right now. So I just wanted to turn over to Jordyn. Jordyn, just so for those who don't know you, just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. As Ryan mentioned, I recently just graduated from UC Irvine, got my master's in innovation entrepreneurship, and amazing opportunity, amazing experience, especially working with BMA. Unfortunately, everything was virtual, so I didn't really get the in-person experience. But I'm just very happy to come back and just share just my journey with you all. I recently just moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and really here just to be around the tech and the startup venture capital ecosystem that's really booming here in Atlanta. So right now, I actually just launched my startup that I was working on when I was at UC Irvine called Forefront. And right now we're a product recommendations and personal shopping platform for people to find Black-owned businesses. So that's something I'm very excited about, really got off the ground, and we launched 2 weeks ago. So we're really excited just to continue to grow. So that's a little bit about myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordyn. Appreciate that. So in terms of, I would get into like the BMA aspect of it and, why UCI, but I really wanted just to take this time just to have a conversation about you and, a business that you founded that's so important. And before moving into that, one of the questions that I wanted to start with is when you're looking to, start a business that's outside of the box, that is different from the masses, what's been like the biggest challenge so far at this moment for you as you started this business?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest challenge is just finding others that are kind of like, they kind of get what you're doing. So especially like in the tech and startups ecosystem, not to say there are no Black founders, we're definitely there, but there are not a lot of investors that kind of believe in what we're doing or understand why it's so important. So I would say that's the biggest challenge. But right now there's so many Black investors, so many Black VC firms that are interested in investing in Black founders. They understand. So that's definitely been something that I've been seeing over the past couple of years that has been helpful with my journey. But in terms of like how I got it started or like when or just why I just knew it was so important, I actually started working on this back in college and undergrad. I think it was about 2017. And I went to school in Durham, North Carolina, went to an HBCU. So just going to an HBCU, you kind of just learn more about your history. You get more pride in just who you are, where you came from. And Durham, North Carolina, they actually had a Black Wall Street. So that was very ironic to just me starting my company. It was at the time called the Black Market Company. And I remember working as a sophomore in college. And I think I was working at PF Chang's at the time. And I was just there. I was making good money, but I was depressed. I was like, what am I doing? But I just remember having the epiphany, like, why are there no Black-owned restaurants? There are no Black brands to this caliber that I know about. So that was just something that really just kind of struck me. Then I started to learn more about just the state of Black wealth and just, how behind we kind of are when it comes to wealth and building wealth, businesses as well. So that's what kind of led me to start the Black Market Company, which is now Forefront. But just really wanting to make it easy to find Black-owned businesses. To me, I really correlated the state of Black wealth to the state of Black businesses, just in terms of if our businesses are successful, our communities will have more wealth. We'll have more wealth for our families. So that was kind of my thought process with starting the Black Market Company and why I thought it was so important. Because we have so much buying power and we're spending it outside of our communities, making everyone else wealthy. So my vision is to really make it just easy as it is to order Uber Eats, to find Black-owned businesses and to shop with Black-owned businesses. So my goal is just to really innovate shopping Black.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And, we've had our conversations and talked about the importance of having such a business of this magnitude and how it's needed, right? So now that we've painted the picture as to the why, what is Forefront? Like, what do you envision it being? What it is now, but what you see it being down the line?
Yeah, so it's definitely changed a lot. Like I know when I was at UC Irvine, I know I shared just a little bit about Forefront at that time, but it has changed. Just kind of learning more, and just learning more about my experiences and talking to other people about their experiences. So right now, what Forefront is a product recommendations and personal shopping platform. Very similar. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Stitch Fix, but they pretty much are a personal shopping platform for people to find clothing and get, different style support, I guess. So I'm doing something very similar, but the goal is just to really make it as easy to find Black-owned businesses. I noticed that, especially like after the protests in 2020, there's been so many blogs, so many marketplaces, so many recognition for Black-owned businesses, but there's no real easy way for me to find it. So I wanted to create a way where it's not as overwhelming or as much of a, it's not time consuming to find Black-owned businesses. So the goal with Forefront right now with the personal shopping platform is people simply just take a quiz and tell us, exactly what their needs are, their skin needs, their hair needs, their personal shopping needs. So if they like vegan products, organic, just whatever their personal needs are, we'll actually go out and find products for them and recommend it to them. But that's really just the early stage, I guess, our MVP. The next stage is to actually launch a paid subscription model where we're really finding more specifically to that person's needs. So for me, I have locks. I can't always use the same Black hair products that somebody who has curly hair has, or somebody who does not have locks. So our goal is to just make it easy to find products that are specifically for you. And so that's our second phase. And then just the overall vision of Forefront is to really just be a social platform for people to social shopping platform for people to find these businesses and just bring a new and innovative experience. So very similar to Instagram and how you're able to connect with so many brands, so many, just everything. You can connect with celebrities and just the news, but I want to make it specifically for shopping, shopping Black, and just being able to follow your friends, follow some of your favorite brands, and really see what brands your friends are shopping. Because I know one of the biggest forms of marketing is word of mouth. So if I have a friend that's speaking very highly about this brand and they're constantly supporting this brand, I might go check out that brand. But right now, Instagram and TikTok, they don't really show you what brands people are shopping. They show you, who's liking what, who's following who, but they don't really show you who's shopping with what brand. So that's something I really want to incorporate because I think it's so important, especially supporting Black-owned businesses. There's unfortunately a stigma when it comes to shopping Black. So I believe if we're able to kind of show people that their friends are supporting this brand, this is what your friends are saying about this brand, they'll be more likely to support them. So that's the overall goal of it. I definitely want it to be something that's a global company, just to really just make it easier for anybody to find Black-owned businesses.
Awesome. I promise that's water, Jordyn. I promise.
It is, no.
Yeah, no, it is, seriously. So you, and one of the things that's one of the things I like about Forefront is like your vision for it. But one of the things that I noticed, and it's like Black people have amazing products, amazing businesses that we've had throughout the years, just innovating, right? And it's like, it's one of those things to where I've always been like, I love my people, but sometimes when it comes to an operations standpoint, we struggle there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sometimes why people get like deterred from doing business with Black businesses. Like, so how can Forefront help with the operation aspect of, you go onto a website, it's a really good product, you buy it, and there's no update. There's, the product, you ordered it in February, but then you're at home one day in May, like, oh, I forgot I ordered this. So how does Forefront come into play to really assist with making sure that those products from an operational standpoint, those companies can be successful within your system?
That's actually a great question, because I was just thinking about that today. Going back to the stigma part, that's unfortunate. That is kind of what goes down, but I definitely correlate that to just a lack of resources. Some of us, we're running businesses, we're full-time parents, we're full-time workers, we might be students. And I mean, not to make that an excuse, but that's just the reality of it. So a lot of times people don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but frankly, they don't care. They just want their product. They supported your business. That's all they want. So I think with Forefront, I want to, like, in a sense, help with that as a way so that we kind of take over that aspect. So brands that are on our platform will be, you know, doing the shipping, will be doing just not necessarily the operations, because at the end of the day, they're their own business. But I think Forefront will be kind of like that go-to place. So if it's an issue with an order, we're kind of take care of that, because I know for me, I'm big on customer service. I've been a server before, like pretty much ever since I've been working, I've worked in the restaurant industry. I know service and the experience is just the main thing that people care about. They don't care about, and they care about the food, but if the food is good and the service is bad, they're not coming back. So my goal is just to really provide a new experience, but, you know, transform just the way people would think about shopping Black. Let people know that we can, you know, deliver exceptional products as well as services. And I think sometimes, I think for me and with Forefront, I think our goal would be to kind of, I want to say take over that, but like the brands that are on our platform will kind of handle that. So we understand our criteria and our standards for service. So we'll provide that for our customers.
Awesome. And that's great. You know, like we've had conversation in the past about how that operation aspect is needed in terms of for Black businesses. And then to take it a step forward, as you know, we are talking about Black businesses, and just, you know, you being in this world, and I know you're getting like running into so many business owners and going out and pitching your platform and, you know, potentially getting these companies to join your platform. But I know a lot of times when you go and you try to get funding, that a lot of sometimes the people in those rooms don't necessarily look like us and don't understand, right? So with that, what are some of the common like misconceptions people have with like a company of this magnitude, and how can we like combat those misconceptions and like communicate like more effectively like what we're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, I've been told that like my vision was too big for what I'm creating. I've been told that it's going to be too expensive, things that like nobody would tell a white founder, things that like would not even come up to someone else. But I think it's really just a matter of being able to really identify clearly the problem, regardless. Sometimes if they just can't simply understand what you're doing and they can't see the problem, the numbers are there and they can't grasp it, they're just probably not the person that you want to invest in you anyway. And that's one thing that I've learned, not every single dollar is, you know, is good for you. So I just learned that I just really, when it comes to me fundraising for Forefront, my goal is just to really find investors that understand the vision. You know what I'm saying? I still have to do my own work to make it make sense to them and for them to believe in me as a founder. But, you know, it's really all about me doing my work and just ensuring that I can create this company, help these investors get the returns that they're looking for. But as far as misconceptions, people don't even, as far as representation, like we don't really see that many Black people in tech running major tech companies. They're there. A lot of people don't know about them. One company I just found out about here in Atlanta, Calendly, that's owned and operated by a Black man. And there's so many other ones, but we just don't know about them, or it's just not too common. So a lot of investors don't even think that we can do it. But it's just a matter of like just finding, in a sense, your tribe, just knowing your vision, not really being afraid of a no, and just, you know, finding those investors and the people who are going to support you because they believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's very much so needed. With anything you do, right? Like having individuals that support and believe in what you're doing. You know, even when like you were here on campus and you did the whole, you know, pitch and some of the feedback that, you know, the team got, I was kind of like,
yeah,
what? Like, seriously? But again, those are some of like the barriers that, you know, Black founders face and, you know, Black businesses face every day. And just to take that a little bit more, let's advance that topic a little bit more. How do we get more Black people in tech in terms of starting companies like Forefront, in terms of having representation at even, banks and VCs that make those decisions, because you can do nothing without money and financing.
Yeah, so even on top of like outside of venture capital, because that's not the only way you can fund your company, but back to the banks, it's very important to have that representation in the banks for people to have people that believe in you, that will give you a loan, that will give you the credit cards that you need to run your business. So that's very important. I think it just definitely comes down to representation, just people who understand, and not even just representation, because it's not even going to just be up to us. If other people are running that space, it's really up to them taking that bet on Black founders and women founders and just people who are normally, disenfranchised, I guess. But like, I think it's up to them to kind of make that step, like, okay, we're going to take this bet on this person. We believe in this person. And I think that's just as important, because if we only own 2% of venture capital funds, only 2% is going to Black founders. One, it might mean that venture capital is really just not designed for us, but two, sometimes it just means that you just, have to, go around and just see the different forms of funding that will be just good for you and your company.
Awesome. And just as your time, being in Atlanta, we've all spent time there, and it's like it's so vibrant in the city. It's like I know they call DC like Chocolate City, but even when I got to Atlanta, like moving from like LA, I was like, man, like okay, like I can do this. Like I feel at home. But with that, areas like that, there's so many Black people, there's still not that representation. So how have you seen other founders like within Atlanta? How have you guys like kind of like gotten together to like brainstorm and just figure out ways of like just moving this mission forward?
Honestly, my experience here in Atlanta, I could not even say that the representation is not there. The spaces that I've been in like have been just Blackness, like, and it's Black excellence, people who are building $1 million dollar companies. I was actually just at an event last week. I don't know if you all have heard of the company Gooder, but they pretty much take food waste from restaurants and they give it to, underserved communities. So that's something, that you kind of see here in Atlanta. There's so many people that was in that room that were building so many amazing things, investors, just corporate sponsors and partners that were really there just to see us win. So even if it's not necessarily a Black person or somebody who looks like me, Atlanta, I think the culture is so different that even if you're not in our community, people understand the value that we have, and what we bring to the table, that they want to be a part of it. That's my experience here in Atlanta. But overall, like, since I moved here, there's been so much support. Like if I was looking for job opportunities, if I was looking to get an introduction with someone, like there's no hesitation. So I think the support here in Atlanta is by far the greatest type of support I've seen. I've been in Durham, North Carolina. I've been in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I think like this, I didn't really expect it. Not that I doubted it, but I just did not expect the type of support that was here. But when I think about it, a lot of people that are in Atlanta right now, not everyone is from Atlanta, but a lot of people moved here, very similar to how people moved to LA. They're looking for an opportunity. They have a vision that they're creating. And so we all kind of gravitate towards that. Well, I know you're building something great. I'm working on something great. Let's see how we can support each other so we can all win. So that's really like the experience that I've noticed here in Atlanta. And that's why I love it. But it's really just being able to walk into spaces and rooms and be around Black investors, Black founders who are doing great things, but also creating $1 million companies. So it's really inspiring. And that's kind of how I've been able to feel comfortable here with what I'm building as well, just because I've been able to build those connections and relationships with people like that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. And so, with that, having those built those connections in that network, having been in Atlanta, for someone, that's in your shoes looking to start that business and take that next step. Because a lot of times, it's scary to say, hey, I want to start a business, like not knowing, it's all on you, right? So it's like, if this thing does not go right, it's on me. Um, what is like the best resource for people that like want to dive like deeper into like entrepreneurship and tech that you would say that you've gained?
As far as resources, so far, like recently, there have been so many different programs that are here to support founders that look like us, or entrepreneurs that look like us. And I always say, like, now is the time to be a Black founder, to be a person of color running a business, because there's so much. You can just Google so many just opportunities, grants, investors that are looking to invest in people like us. So right now, it's really just a matter of like just bringing your idea to life and just doing what you can to prepare yourself to, get into these programs. And there are a lot of programs that are here to like really help people who have an idea, but they don't really know how to pursue it. And that's kind of how I feel like I was for the longest. So really being at UC Irvine and being in the MIE program, that really just helped me, like, how do I take this big vision and start it? Because being a visionary can sometimes be a blessing and a curse. I didn't know. For so long, I was just stagnant. Like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, I know it could be great. I know what I want to do. I know how to articulate it, but I don't know how to get started. I'm not tech. So it's just a matter of like being able to, really articulate your vision. So when you're applying to programs, you're applying to grants, sometimes they don't even care your background. They don't even care. They just want to understand your story behind it and your why. So I think it's just a matter of just like really understanding your why behind your business and just getting it started.
Awesome. So like within that, right? So this is the resources that are available to people that you've come across.
Mhm.
And still, and yet we talked about that financial aspect, or someone backing it and having that belief in it, right?
Mhm.
And I know we talked about earlier about some of the things that you've heard, like when you like go out and pitch, but I wanted to ask, what is like a question or something that you do want to hear when we go into a room and ask for like funding or someone to believe and come along this journey with us?
I think the question you asked me before, just like, what is your vision for it? Because oftentimes, like even me launching my MVP, like that's not anywhere close to where I want Forefront to be in the next 5 to 10 years. So even though, when we're pitching, that's kind of our goal to, that's what we need to do, is tell them what our company is, where we're doing, what our vision is. But sometimes like just being able to simply just like not even like take off the timers and really just take the time to really like, okay, this is really what I'm building. This is why it's important. This is why I'm the person for it. Just because sometimes when it comes to pitching, like that's a skill in itself. You have 10 slides, you have 3 to 5 minutes to pitch. You kind of just rushing, you're kind of just, wanting to get it out. But if somebody really just takes the time, like why this, why now, like literally just give you that time just to share your vision and why it's so important. I think that's a question that would really help a lot of people understand why it's so important to invest in Black founders and underrepresented founders.
And again, you touched on buying power and of African Americans in this country. But if we look back like through the years of, again, we talked about innovation, how Black people have always been like innovators and entrepreneurs. One of the things I wanted to ask you is like, how has technology really benefited, Black entrepreneurs today compared to where we come from? Like, how much further do you think that we could be if we've had the advances that we have now back then?
Are you saying like the technology that we've created, or just
Exactly.
technology?
The technology that we've created.
Um, Okay, now can you rephrase that, or can you ask that question again now that I kind
Yeah.
of.
So essentially what I'm saying is that, let's say my uncles, when they started a company, it was literally like, oh, I know you guys had like this restaurant right here. But now, if you start a restaurant, you have Instagram, you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you can market those things and it's free. Do you think like if those resources have always been, with us, will we be a lot more advanced, and that buying power be even more than what it is now?
I'm kind of on the fence with that because in a sense, I think that, I mean, of course, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like all those have helped us to really advance. But like, in a sense, when it comes to starting businesses, I feel like when it comes to us creating that type of technology, it's almost like, well, those are the big dogs. Like those are people who, are creating these platforms that we're just going to use and we're not going to necessarily create. And I bring that up because I know like with Clubhouse, like, right after, I think it was during the pandemic, we all had that big boom and, we all were on Clubhouse. I don't know if y'all were on it, but I kind of just listened a little bit, but like, I truly believe that we kind of gave them that $1 billion valuation.
You were on there talking, I heard you.
You said what?
You were on there talking, I heard you.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And then, there are other Black companies that have created something very similar and they got no recognition. Nobody's hopping on that. So sometimes I think like the Instagrams and things, like, even though that can help, small businesses or just, depending on the type of company that you're creating, but when it comes to technology companies, these big companies, it's so easy for them to just steal. Like even Twitter, their Twitter spaces, they literally stole what Clubhouse was doing. So sometimes it can definitely help when it comes to marketing and things like that. But I think when it comes to us building technology that's very similar, like, even with Forefront, like I have to compete against Instagram, TikTok. I can't even say that to investors because they're gonna be like, no, you can't do that. So, but that's generally like, those are our competition, our biggest competition. That's what people are spending all day on. If people are looking for restaurants here in Atlanta, they can go on TikTok and just see so many TikToks about Black-owned businesses here in Atlanta. So it's really just, they're our biggest competitors in a sense, but if we're able to really bring value to our customers, I think that I can definitely put us at an advantage. But overall, I mean, technology, you can't beat technology. I think overall it's been definitely a blessing and a curse, but if you kind of know how to navigate it, I think it can definitely help any entrepreneur on their journey.
Awesome. And it was like a different question, but the reason why I asked it was because I want to lead up to this is, if the playing field was always, leveled as kind of like how it is right now with certain technological advances, could, we have those, Zuckerbergs and others in the Black community, because there's so many innovators, but it's just sometimes we don't have like that seat at the table to really, put it out there. Right.
Yeah.
So on that, I wanted to, as we kind of move through this, I wanted to ask, if I'm someone that's coming out like the MIE program or coming out of undergrad and I want to start a company, like what is like one piece of advice you would like give someone starting out?
This is one that it's been resonating with me for a couple of months now, but really just don't just start a business just to start a business. I think it's really important to have a passion or a why connected to it. That way, when the investors tell you no, or you don't get the grant that you're looking for, like that's not going to stop you. As I mentioned, I've been working on the idea of Forefront since 2017. There are ups and downs as an entrepreneur, but I knew when it came to this business, and the reason why I know I needed to create this was because if I didn't do it, it would not get done. It would get done in other ways, but the way that I see it in my head, nobody else can create that but me. So I believe it's my calling for Forefront and to really help bring Black businesses to the forefront. But overall, if I didn't have that connection, that passion behind it, I would have just fell off. Okay, let me just take this job and, focus on that. But if you are really connected to your vision and you have a passion behind it, a purpose behind it, you're never going to just put it down. Like I've had nights where I just could not sleep. Like I have to do this. Like I I wouldn't feel right. I would not feel fulfilled if I did not attempt to start Forefront or attempt to go get funding or attempt to compete with TikTok. So things like that really just keep you going when times get hard or, things personally get in the way, like, it don't matter, I have to get this done. So I think just having a passion behind it is key.
And then has the traction been good in terms of, companies wanting to join Forefront? There's an interest been there in terms of, piquing that interest of those wanting to join the platform?
Yeah, I mean, a lot more than I kind of expected when I launched the actual Forefront platform. But I really been, as far as like people who follow me on social media or just I guess my network, they kind of know that this is something that I'm passionate about. So it's something that has been talked about, that has been in the works, even with the Black Market Company in the beginning. So I think, it wasn't something that was not familiar. Like, okay, this is something that she's been talking about in terms of just supporting Black businesses and, building Black wealth. That's kind of like my brand in a sense. Like, that's something that I truly care about and I talk about a lot. So when it came to me launching Forefront, a lot of people were supportive. Brands are, joining or signing up to join. We have people subscribing. So that's definitely just the main focus right now, and continuing to grow that and push that and keep it going.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Well, I do want to leave some time for Q&A, adequate enough time, about 15, 20 minutes. But before that, whenever I'm like moderating on my Ryan Talks, not TED Talks, see, I'm an entrepreneur at Ryan Talks, right? See, I learned that from you, Jordyn. One of the things I like to do, kind of wrap up, is I like to do 3 whys, right? We always talk about the why someone does it. So I'm gonna start off with my first why, right? My first why is, why Jordyn Weaver?
That's good. Why Jordyn Weaver? I think because back to the passion that I mentioned before, like, there's nothing that's going to stop me from creating Forefront. And I think the way that I'm going about creating this platform, just in terms of like the innovation, is very different. And I think that, our community, we really deserve innovation when it comes to, having the convenience to shop Black, or just, anything tailored to us. We have the innovation, the technology, the ease with everything else, but shopping Black. So I just see that, and I know that this is something that I have to create. So like I said, I wouldn't feel right. I would not feel fulfilled not creating Forefront. So just that very drive is the reason why it needs to be Jordyn Weaver, I guess.
Awesome. So then that leads me to my next question. Why Forefront?
Why Forefront? Because I strongly believe in the brands that we're creating. And I know solely that our wealth that's continuing to decline is depending on the businesses that we support, the businesses that we create. So Forefront is here just to make it as easy as pulling up an app, as easy as it is shopping anything else, but shopping Black and supporting these brands. Another thing that, I didn't mention on Forefront, but one thing that you're going to be allowed to do is like track your impact. So you're going to be able to really track how much money you're really spending within your community and what that's really doing for your community. So that's something that's really important. I think we all care about impact. So the goal is to really just make it easy, make it convenient, make it innovative, make it an experience, but really just bring the innovation that I truly believe that the Black community deserves, that we deserve to actually create as well. We can take advantage of the Uber Eats and everything like that, but when a Black person creates something very similar, like, we should support it as well. So that's what I believe.
Awesome. So we said why Jordyn, we said why Forefront, but I think the most important thing is, outside of us, that there's more wealth out there from other demographics. So just to wrap it up, why buy Black?
I mean, I just learned there's $1.6 trillion in buying power at this point now. Why continue to, talk about Black wealth and talk about how we don't have this, how we don't have that, but we're spending all $1.6 trillion outside of our community. We can't keep complaining about, everything that's going wrong in our community. And I think it's solely just depending on the wealth that we create for our families, and not even just for our families, but for our community. So why buy Black is because, like, why not? Like, why, we talk about racism and our oppressors, but we continue to, give them the power. Literally what my shirt says is Black bosses, Black empire is Black wealth, Black power. If we're able to really continue that circulation and really, get our communities on board, like, we have everything we need. We'll have the education, we'll have the health, the jobs. So that's why I think it's important to buy Black, because it's deeper than just Black businesses. It's supporting the community, it's supporting the next generation, so our children don't have to experience the same traumas and, experiences that we have. So that's why I think it's important to buy Black. It's deeper than just buying and supporting a Black business.
Jordyn Weaver, thank you so much for coming to my Ryan Talk this evening.
I like those questions.
I like
that.
I didn't want you to like prepare for those. I wanted to throw them out there because pitch it to me if I can get you that finance. Pitch it to me. No, but this has been amazing. Thank you for taking time out. It's always great to have family come home and be a part of and have a conversation and have others involved in it. And this is like truly like an inspiration to a lot of people, like that you took a leap of faith and said, hey, no matter what, this is going to work. I'm going to figure it out. And, if it does, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to do it. But this is a need. I've identified this need and we're going to make it happen. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. At this time, I want to open it up for any questions anyone may have. I mean, we have the next big founder in technology on this call right now. So let's take advantage of it before we have to go through her assistant.
Nah.
I definitely like to jump in really quick because a lot of your story, Jordyn, really resonates with me. We did the same thing, my partner and I, back in 2018, as filmmakers, having a vision of following Blacks in technology after meeting, traveling across the country and meeting Blacks in Silicon Valley who were there back in the 40s and 50s when IBM and Intel and all of these tech companies were founded, now in their late 70s, 80s, and passing away. And we met this couple that the husband was an engineer and the wife was a filmmaker, and she had interviewed all of these people, and they were able to tell their stories about when they were there, as engineers and mathematicians starting these tech companies in Silicon Valley. And we really had a yearning to say, no more will books be written and videos recorded and put up on major, streaming sites about technology and we not be included, right? So, because when you look at the history, we're not there. It's just like we were never there. And so our mission was to shine the brightest light on Blacks in technology and document what we're doing and the impact that we are making, not just in the Black community, but the US and globally. And so we moved to Atlanta with that vision. We got to document people like Jewel Burks and Barry Gibbons and Ashley Cephas and the Tech Twins and like all of these incredible people that are doing so many spectacular, even so far as people in Silicon Valley and Seattle and Miami, like it's booming. Like we're doing some major things. And the community in Atlanta is just like, we just embrace each other. We are, members of the Gathering Spot. We've been there for 3 years, and now in DC, and they're, starting one soon in LA. And so we've been it's like the community just embrace one another. And my question to you is, how has it been in Atlanta forming your team, right? Forming your team, building your platform. What has that experience been?
It's actually so funny. So last weekend, I was a part of a startup boot camp. And I actually met a founder. We had to do our own mini pitches, and I pitched, and I guess he was doing something very similar. So we kind of reached out, we kind of connected, and we were like, we just need to do this together. We're both solo founders. It turned out he was here in Atlanta as well. So we're still kind of figuring that piece out in terms of what that will look like as us, coming together as a company. But just things like that, being able to just hop on a call and meet your co-founder, because he's a technical person. I am not, but that's something that has been a big struggle for me with starting Forefront, is not having that technical aspect or knowledge or just the network in itself. So being able to hop on a call like that and meet somebody who's literally down the road building something similar, that's open to not even compete, but open to really do it together, is a blessing. But I think that's generally just the Atlanta culture, especially with the Gathering Spot. They do so much to bring people together, to build connections and relationships. I just think that's a great representation of Atlanta. But I haven't really experienced, the Black tech scene in other cities, but I can imagine that they're very similar, because we're all wanting to get to, the same place. We're all wanting to be successful. So we can't be successful without supporting each other.
And I've seen it all over the US, and the Black tech ecosystems in each city, and nothing is like Atlanta. I'm gonna give them props. It's just, and that's where we do most of our business. My partner, he's there 2 and 3 times a month doing business and collaborating, and it's just, we've been able to get through the pandemic, because we started in 2018, incorporated in early 2019. So we're coming up on 4 years, and through COVID, right? We've been able to sustain, we've been able to continue to connect and bootstrap, and, angel investors. And, it's just been a real blessing to, do what we do as a ministry, right? We really take it to heart, and we really, even though there's definitely opportunity with building Black wealth and creating, and also leaving a legacy and setting an example, but it's also just that give back to the community, and to make our community stronger, and even just set an example for the generations to come, to say, a lot of us did not see anyone that looked like an entrepreneur, right? Or a real legit corporation with employees, with money to give back to the community. I grew up in Florida, and we didn't have those representatives, and so to actually be in a predicament, empowered to be able to create that for the generations to come, has been really a real blessing. So
yeah, I definitely agree. As far as just speaking on Atlanta, I know a lot of y'all are on the West Coast, but just that's what brought me to Atlanta. Coming from Charlotte, it was definitely a different scenery. Charlotte is definitely very, I want to say segregated, but every community is kind of in their own places. But coming to Atlanta, I just saw Black companies on the billboards, Black law firms, just things you'd never really see. Even when you go to Atlanta airport, you see your people, you just feel like you're home. So I think
one of the best restaurants in Atlanta is in the airport, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm not too far from the airport.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's Terminal 4. Never mind. Go ahead, continue.
I was gonna say, that's literally what brought me to Atlanta. I just knew I was moving to Irvine. It did not happen. But once my sister moved here and I started to visit, I'm like, yeah, this is exactly where I need to be. No question. So yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Any more questions?
Well, I just wanted to say shout out to Jordyn. I got the email notification. I was like, oh, I know this person. So I definitely had to hop in. And I do know a little bit about the journey at Forefront. So I'm just happy to be a part of it and continue to hear the story and continue to see Jordyn's growth. So I'm just happy to see that you continue to do well. I just want to be a fly on the wall, you guys.
Oh, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Likewise, likewise. We have to get you out here to actually have lunch one day, but we'll figure it out.
Hey, I'm working on it. I really plan to, hopefully for the annual summit. So I'll definitely let you know for sure.
I have a question. Hey, Jordyn, or hey, Soror.
Hey.
So my question I like to always ask, going through this process, you said you started thinking about your company in 2017, and while everything can be a learning experience, are there things that you look back and think, I wish I would have done that differently? I could have gone without that lesson. Are there things that, having the hindsight now, that you would share with other people in your situation?
I would say, like, I don't like to call this a mistake, but it's just the reality. I recently had the opportunity to go through a pre-accelerator, and it was a great opportunity for me to really, position myself for growth, for the next stage, funding, things like that. And I was kind of like just in a weird space, just in terms of like trying to figure out what I wanted to do at Forefront. That kind of leads me back to like just following your passion. I was trying to create a company that was not aligned with my original vision and purpose. So I was just kind of like in this weird space. I didn't know how to even create my pitch just because it wasn't flowing. I wasn't able to really know how to take advantage of like the time with the mentors or the times to really just have the opportunity to grow my company. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that was a mistake, because it wasn't something that was dependent on me, but it took me, mid-program to really take advantage or to realize why I wasn't really progressing. So I would definitely just say like, that was a big lesson that I don't want to say I hated that I had to go through the entire program to realize, but like, just follow your gut, follow your intuition. That would be the main, like, it seems like it's something that's so like, what's the word? Just stereotypical, I guess. I don't know, but like, that's something that's so true when it comes to being an entrepreneur, because they're going to be able to know your passion. And so that's a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. But now that I've learned it, I know, like, just stick to the vision. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah. I like what you said. It's like, it's intuitive, but I find like if I share my vision, you get people that want to put their vision into it and then start taking your vision to other places. And so trying to protect that is important.
That's something that I learned too a lot. I think that kind of hindered my growth in the beginning, especially while I was at UC Irvine. We had access to mentors, and they were great mentors, but not necessarily everyone understood exactly what and why. So I would go to people, what do you think about this idea? What do you think about this, that, and that? And it was just too much. And I got to a point where I just had too many ideas that were not mine, and it held me stagnant for a minute. So I would just say, like, sometimes you don't necessarily need, I feel like we create a narrative that we have to always ask for permission or just ask for advice. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, just learn to ask for what you just really need. If you really just need advice on what's the best way to maneuver through, getting my MVP launched, or, whatever the case is, like, ask those questions versus like, what do you think about this? Because even if you're talking to an investor, they don't know everything. They're going to tell you from their own experiences, but if they never worked with someone like you, they never worked with a company like yours, what they worked with before is not going to help you. So I would definitely say, like, you don't always need to get everybody's advice, even if they're an investor. It's just a matter of like figuring out, okay, is this, the proper step versus what do you think about this sometimes? So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's something that I learned as well. Like, you don't always need everyone's permission or, things like that.
Just to piggyback on that, do you find people or investors will buy into more of your idea or your company, or more of you? Do they get behind you or your idea, or is it a combination?
most investors, they are after you. Like the company is cool, like, but at the end of the day, there might be companies, somebody else is working on something very similar. So they're investing in the founder. They're investing in just your passion behind what you're doing, your drive, your tenacity, I guess, because if it fails, like they want to know, okay, if this person's going to come back and create something else, because ideas, they can fail, but like you as a person, we're not going to just, oh, well, let me just, go crying in my bed for the rest of my life. Like we're going to create something else. So they really, from what I've heard and what I experienced, it's a lot more, they care more about the founder and just who you are, what you can bring to the table, and kind of like Ryan asked, why you? So.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you.
All right. So Jordyn, I have one last question before we wrap up.
Okay.
Just looking for some advice. So, I have a clothing brand. I'm looking for it to be like the next FUBU. No, I'm just playing.
But it's like selling out your trunk.
Yeah, no. No. My last question is, I've gotten to like know you for like over a year now, and just know that you're a visionary and, going to be like truly successful in whatever you do. My question is like, what's next? Like, what's next for Jordyn? Like, aside from Forefront, like what else? Like, what's that next big thing we need to be looking out for?
Well, I guess something else that I've really been wanting to do for a while, but haven't just had the opportunity or created the opportunity. But me and a friend are actually working on a podcast to really help bring more Black tech companies to the forefront and really just highlight them. And it kind of just goes all the way back to just my life mission. What I believe is to really economically empower the Black community through entrepreneurship, innovation, and investing. So I guess my vision behind that, and just why I think it's so important to help bring more Black tech companies to the forefront, is because a lot of them, like, imagine if we could invest in an Instagram or even Calendly, or I don't know if you all know the company Squire. They're another Black tech company that has reached $1 billion valuation. But imagine if we, as our community, were able to invest in them early on. We saw their vision. We believed in them early on. Even if we're just early adopters, just kind of bring in that opportunity to anyone to be able to have those type of investments, whether it's in a crowd fund or if you're an angel investor, being able to learn about these companies to actually support them in their early stages. Because once they grow up, or once they blow up, you have an investment, you have a stake in that company that has essentially helped you and your family generate wealth. So that's really like what's next. And then it's just focusing on growing Forefront and really just getting it going. That's really what's next. Awesome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Whatever you need, we're here. And thank you for everyone for attending this. Even I know, 5 o'clock's somewhat tough, but I had to have a conversation with Jordyn Weaver. So I'm happy right now. No, but
enjoyed it. Thank you all.
truly excited. Yeah, truly excited to see what's next. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of your evening.